God-level duplication system. Chapter 261. Azure Sky Bull Python. This is a phantom purple jade fox, a low rank 8 demon beast. It can release an illusionary realm and control most demon beasts below rank 8 or warriors below the origin C realm. It can be considered a relatively precious bloodline. Back then, we were only able to raise it until now because we obtained a young phantom purple jade fox. The difficulty of capturing it is extremely high. Black Essence Demon Ox is a rank 8 mid-grade demon beast. It had the thin bloodline of an ancient demonic beast, the Herculean bull demon. It had immense strength and a violent temper. It's also a rare demonic beast. In Ming Chang, there might only be one in the beast garden. Our disciples have to come and observe it while cultivating the demon ox fist. In the surrounding small domains of the Ming Chang region, only the Ming Chang kingdom, royal family had a beast garden. There were all kinds of rare and powerful demon beasts here. The entire beast garden occupied 1/3 of the palace of the Ming Chang kingdom. With the third prince and Niyang King status, he could naturally enter the beast garden freely to observe. It was fine for him to bring Lin Xuan along. At this moment, Niyang King, Lin Xuan, and a few disciples of the Ming Chang royal family were visiting the beast garden together. Niyang King introduced them to Lin Xuan one by one. Behind them were two mid-elemental C stage warriors who were guarding the safety of the group in case these demon beasts suddenly attacked and hurt them. Lin Xuan listened attentively, and his eyes sparkled. "Mr. Nai, can I come closer and take a look?" Suddenly, Lin Xuan asked. Niyang King hesitated when he heard this. It wasn't that he didn't want Lin Xuan to watch from a close distance, but he was worried that those demon beasts would hurt him. After all, Lin Xuan was a top genius with boundless potential and extraordinary talent, far surpassing the level of the Ming Chang region. It wouldn't be good if those demonic beasts hurt Lin Xuan because of this, causing a conflict between them. "Third prince, don't worry. As long as I'm here, these demonic beasts won't dare act recklessly." An old man with bright hair who was standing behind it spoke. Niyang King pondered for a moment and said, "Since Elder Zhang said so, then fine. Lin, you can go and take a closer look. However, you should try not to get within 30 meters of me. Although these demon beasts' ferocity has significantly decreased as a result of our taming them, 30 meters is the maximum distance they can endure. Unless it's a servant who has been feeding them for a long period of time, anyone who gets within 30 meters of them will be in danger of causing them to launch an attack. Mr. Nai, thank you for your reminder. I will be careful." Lin Xuan bowed as he replied. After which, he turned around and headed towards the nearest area where the phantom purple jade fox was located. When he was 100 meters away from it, he gave the order in his heart. I consumed 200,000 energy points. Duplication successful. Obtained profound grade fantasy talent. He pretended to look at it a few more times before turning around and walking back. He specifically requested to visit the beast garden on one condition. Obtaining these talents was one of his goals. What Lin Xuan did not realize was that, when he approached, the phantom purple jade fox with purple fur and a deceptive appearance was prostrating on the ground, trembling slightly as if it were afraid of something. Let's continue. Niyang King didn't notice this strange thing either. Seeing that Lin Xuan was fine, he felt relieved and continued to lead the group to visit the beast garden. Elder Zhang, who was standing behind him, noticed it. He looked at Lin Xuan in surprise. Is the phantom purple jade fox afraid of him? How is this possible? Elder Zhang was filled with disbelief. That was an incomparably ferocious demon beast. The phantom purple jade fox was a rank 8 fierce beast, and its cute appearance was very deceptive. If it was angered, it might even attack a crystal transformation stage warrior. According to the rumors, a void martial stage warrior ranked at the top of the maple martial region could kill it, but it was unlikely that it would be afraid of it. But at this moment, a second-level spiritual essence, stage junior warrior actually made the phantom purple jade fox afraid. How could he not be shocked? Elder Zhang couldn't believe his eyes. But for the next rank 8 demonic beasts, Lin Xuan went closer to them and observed. As for those rank 8 demonic beasts, all of them prostrated on the ground without exception, trembling slightly, as if they were afraid. If it was a coincidence that a demon beast was afraid of Lin Xuan, Then it wouldn't be a coincidence that many demon beasts were afraid of him. Could it be that he possesses some kind of high-grade bloodline power? He can actually make so many ranks 8 fierce beasts fear him. Elder Zhang silently watched this scene and his heart was even more shocked. The power of bloodline was something only a true top genius could possess. In the entire Fengwu state, there were less than 10 geniuses who possessed the power of bloodline. Even in the Maple Martial region, they were the top geniuses. It was impossible for them to take a fancy to an ordinary central region like the Ming-Chang region. Elder Zhang couldn't believe that the third prince was able to recruit such a top genius with bloodline power. Could it be that Lin Xuan was a top genius from an ordinary domain, but he had yet to reveal his true strength? Elder Zhang guessed in his heart. He was even more shocked. This was a good opportunity. He had made up his mind that, after this trip to the Beast Garden, he would inform the third prince and even the higher-ups of the Ming-Chang royal family about this. It was rare for him to come into contact with a top genius with bloodline power. He couldn't let Lin Xuan leave. No matter what, he had to get closer to Lin Xuan. This way, the royal family of the Ming-Chang kingdom would have a chance to rise. However, what Lin Xuan didn't know was that his performance had frightened a late elemental sea stage warrior. At this moment, Lin Xuan also had a satisfied look in his eyes. Profound grade fantasy talent, profound grade heavy water talent, and profound grade blood burst talent. I can replicate all kinds of profound grade talents. When I return, I'll be able to use these talents together, and I'll be able to increase my strength to another level. Lin Xuan thought to himself and nodded slightly. Unknowingly, more than an hour had passed. He had almost finished strolling around the Beast Garden. Mr. Nai, what sort of malevolent creature inhabits that enormous, foggy pond? Lin Xuan looked at Nai Yongkang and asked. The huge pond he pointed at had occupied half of the entire Beast Garden. The rest of the demon beasts lived in this huge pool. The top of the huge pool was covered with a large amount of white mist. They could not see what was inside, they could only see a huge creature moving slowly. When Nai Yongkang heard this, he did not hide anything. He lowered his voice and said it with an incomparably solemn expression. That's the old ancestor of the royal family of Ming-Chang Kingdom, the Azure Heaven Bull Python. It's a rank 9 top-grade demon beast. Chapter 262. Beast Spirit Talent. That's the old ancestor of the royal family of Ming-Chang Kingdom, the Azure Heaven Bull Python, a rank 9 top-grade demon beast. Not even a peak crystal transformation stage warrior is a match for the old ancestor. It can even fight a legendary void martial stage warrior. It was the strongest existence in the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family. It was the foundation of the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family's existence until now. Nai Yongkang said in a deep voice, not hiding anything. This was because the Azure Heaven Bull Python was the strongest existence in the royal family of Ming-Chang Kingdom, a deterrent force. This was not a secret. In the Ming-Chang region and the surrounding small domains, he could find out about it after some investigation. When Lin Xuan heard this, he slightly nodded his head. A ray of light flashed across his eyes as he said, I heard that the Azure Heaven Bull Python owns the true dragon bloodline. Is this true? There is indeed such a rumor. When Nai Yongkang heard this, he did not mind and said it with a faint smile. But that is only a rumor after all. The true dragon was at its peak. When it was born, it was an emperor level. After it mature, it can easily become an emperor level supreme level. If the ancestor had the bloodline of the true dragon, it wouldn't have been stuck at the rank 9 top grade for hundreds of years, it wouldn't even be able to reach the king level. Such a rumor had already spread across the entire Ming-Chang region. However, not many people paid attention to it. Lin Xuan nodded. The bright light in the depths of his eyes did not disappear. He continued. Mr. Nai, can you let me see this old ancestor of the Ming-Chang royal family? I want to broaden my horizons. Nai Yongkang didn't think too much about it but hesitated. Although they were wandering around and the Azure Heaven Bull Python didn't move, the Azure Heaven Bull Python wasn't docile. In fact, the Azure Heaven Bull Python had devoured many lower, consecutive crystal transformation stage warriors, and it was very cruel. It was precisely because of the Azure Heaven Bull Python's ruthlessness that the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family was able to hold the throne of the royal family. The Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family had complete control over the Ming-Chang region, which was the most prosperous area in all of Ming-Chang City. The other two major powers didn't dare to have any objections. However, a long-dead member of the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family who had reached the void martial stage 1,000 years prior raised the azure heaven bull python as a pet beast. Now, 1,000 years had passed, and that old ancestor had already passed away because of his lifespan. There were no more void martial stage warriors in the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family, and even crystal transformation stage warriors were extremely rare. The azure heaven bull python had become the strongest existence in the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family, the true old ancestor. However, the reason why the azure heaven bull python chose to stay and protect the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family was because of the request of the void martial stage ancestor 1,000 years ago. As time passed, the people of the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family, with whom the azure heaven bull python was familiar, were no longer there. The azure heaven bull python no longer had any feelings for the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family. Under normal circumstances, the azure heaven bull python was sleeping in the azure green pond. It wouldn't attack the disciples of the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family. However, if someone disturbed the azure heaven bull python, it wouldn't care about the identity of this person, it would only devour him. Not to mention that Lin Xuan wasn't even a disciple of the Ming-Chang royal family. Although Lin Xuan's talent was extraordinary, he was considered a top genius in the entire Fengwu state. However, he still hadn't grown up yet. They would suffer a great loss if the azure heaven bull python were to devour him. After musing for a moment, Nai Yongkang prepared to explain to Lin Xuan that he wanted to reject Lin Xuan. He did not wish for a genius like Lin Xuan to die prematurely. At this moment, a clear female voice sounded. "Mo, who wants to see the old ancestor? I can bring him there." A figure walked out of the mist of the huge pond. It was a tall girl with skin as white as snow. She was holding a fat cat in her arms. "19th sister, why are you here?" Nai Yongkang saw the girl and was not surprised. He casually asked. "I'm here to visit the old ancestor." The young girl replied with a smile. "Lin, this is 19th Princess Nai Yunming from the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family. She is the only person in the Ming-Chang Kingdom royal family who can get close to the old ancestor many times without angering him. She is the one who has the best relationship with the old ancestor." After that, Nai Yongkang introduced the two of them to Lin Xuan and Nai Yunming. 19th sister, he is Lin Xuan, also the chief of the combat competition. He has the potential to become one of the top 50 geniuses on the profound essence list. Lin Xuan. He's only at the second level of spiritual essence stage, but he's already able to get into the top 50 of the profound essence list. When Nai Yunming heard this, she touched the little fat cat in her arms. She blinked her big eyes and looked curiously at Lin Xuan. "Greetings, 19th Princess." Lin Xuan cupped his hands and said, his eyes flashed. In an instant, Nai Yunming's attribute panel appeared in his sight. Name: Nai Yunming. Cultivation: Spiritual Essence Stage Level 3. Talent: Crystal Grade Cultivation Talent, Spirit Grade Strength Talent, Spirit Grade Speed Talent, Spirit Grade Swordplay Talent, Spirit Grade Violent Wind Attribute Talent, Superior Grade Sharp Gold Talent, Superior Grade Crimson Fire Talent, Spirit Grade Green Wood Attribute Talent, Top Grade Earth Talent, Top Grade Heavy Water Talent, Spirit Grade Cloud Talent, and Superior Grade Beast Spirit Talent Martial Arts. Cloud Transformation Skill, High Rank 8, Small Completion, Cloud Sword Skill, High Rank 8. Great Completion, Cloud Slashing Mist Palm, High Rank 8, Small Completion, Cloud Fist, High Rank 8, Small Completion, Shadow Splitting Step, High Rank 8, Great Completion. Concept: 50% Sword Intent, 45% Artistic Conception of Cloud, 40% Artistic Conception of Wind, 40% Artistic Conception of Wood, 20% Artistic Conception of Fire, 20% Artistic Conception of Gold, and 30% Artistic Conception of Water. Treasure: Cloud Binding Whip, Mid-Rank 8 Spirit Weapon. Looking at the void and Nai Yunming's attribute panel in front of him, Lin Xuan's expression became serious. He did not think that Nai Yunming was also a Heaven's Pride expert. She was much weaker than Nai Yongkang, Xiao Wenxing, and the others. But she was much stronger than Zhang Yuqin, Wu Xin, and the others from the Scorching Sun domain. However, Lin Xuan's focus wasn't on these aspects. Superior Grade Beast Spirit Talent. Lin Xuan muttered in his heart. A look of enlightenment flashed across his eyes. Na Yunming's ability to approach the Azure Heaven Bull Python repeatedly without meeting an attack is most likely due to this beast spirit talent. Also, the little fat cat in Na Yunming's arms. He looked at its attribute panel. It was a rank 8 demonic beast that was comparable to the elemental C stage martial cultivator. The fact that it could be held in Na Yunming's arms like this as a pet must be the effect of this beast spirit talent. This meant that if he wanted to get close to the Azure Heaven Bull Python, he would need this beast spirit talent. Na Yunming also had many treasures on her. Lin Xuan would not let them go. He copied all of them. Consumed 30,000 energy points. Duplication successful. I obtained the superior grade beast spirit talent. I spent 1 million energy points. Duplicated successfully. Obtained crystal grade cultivation talent. Consumed 200,000 energy points. Duplication successful. Obtained cloud sword skill, high rank 8, great completion. Chapter 263. True Dragon Bloodline. In the blink of an eye, he had duplicated all the treasures that he had taken a fancy to from Na Yunming. As this was the Beast Garden, there were all kinds of auras mixed together. Lin Xuan was not worried about being discovered, so he at once chose to use it. Host, congratulations on breaking through to the superior grade beast spirit talent. Host, congratulations on breaking through to cultivate talent. Host, congratulations on breaking through to the great completion high rank 8 martial art, cloud sword skill. In a moment, he had completely integrated all of these martial arts. Lin Xuan felt that his strength had increased a little. The key was that he felt more comfortable in the beast garden. The demon beasts around him seemed to be very kind to him. The beast spirit talent is really not bad. Lin Xuan's eyes revealed a trace of satisfaction. At the same time, Na Yunming, who was opposite him, looked at Lin Xuan gently. She actually felt a trace of intimacy from Lin Xuan. It was as if they were from the same clan. This made her feel puzzled. Lin Xuan, however, did not notice this and continued to look at Na Yunming. 19th Princess, can you bring me to see the Azure Heaven Bull Python? Just call me Yunming. Can I call you Lin Xuan? Na Yunming replied. Lin Xuan nodded slightly. Na Yunming at once smiled and said, Lin Xuan, since you want to see it, I can naturally bring you to see it. She looked at Na Yongkang again. Mo, don't worry. As long as I'm here, the old ancestor won't get angry and won't be disturbed. Na Yongkang's expression changed upon seeing this, and a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. Although Na Yunming was cute and kind to people, it was the first time she was so close to a stranger. Could it be that Lin Xuan had something special that could attract Na Yunming? Immediately, Na Yongkang nodded and spoke. Since you have already guaranteed it, there will be no problem. After he finished speaking, he looked at Lin Xuan and said, Lin, if you want to meet the old ancestor, then follow Sister 19. We won't go in case we disturb the old ancestor. Remember, you have to listen to Sister 19's orders after you go there. Don't move or get too close to the old ancestor. Otherwise, the consequences might be unimaginable. Na Yongkang reminded her. Although he was very confused about Na Yunming being close to Lin Xuan, he was very happy. If they were together, he could let Lin Xuan join the Ming Chang royal family. Lin Xuan was a top genius in the entire Fengwu state. The Ming Chang royal family would be able to gain a lot of benefits from Lin Xuan and rise once again. However, this kind of thing couldn't be forced. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if the opposite happened. Lin Xuan didn't know that Na Yongkang would think so much and just nodded in response. He looked at Na Yunming and said, Yunming, then I will have to trouble you. After that, Lin Xuan followed Na Yunming towards the huge pool in the center of Beast Garden under the gaze of Na Yongkang and the others. Not long after, they disappeared into a cloud. In the fog, Lin Xuan felt that his surroundings were white, and he could not see anything clearly. He could only silently follow Na Yunming and walk forward. Not long after. We have arrived. Na Yunming said in a low voice. She suddenly remembered that she was still holding Lin Xuan's hand and quickly let go. Her face was red. Lin Xuan did not notice this. He looked forward and saw the huge silhouette floating in the clouds. After which, he slowly walked forward. As he continued to approach, Lin Xuan finally saw the outline of the large object clearly. Instantly, he was stunned. His eyes were filled with shock. A huge python that was hundreds of meters long and had green scales on its body was entrenched in the pool. Its head was like a cow's head, but it had a pair of dragon horns. Just its head alone was the size of 3 houses, and it was extremely terrifying. Clouds and mist sprayed out from its huge nostrils. Clearly, the fog that covered the entire pond and half of the beast garden was coming out of its mouth. Although he was looking at it from afar, he could feel a sense of pressure and nobility. So, this is a rank 9 top-grade demon beast Azure Heaven Bull Python. Lin Xuan murmured in his heart, and his eyes widened. However, what really shocked Lin Xuan was not this. Demonic beast. Azure Heaven Bull Python. Level. Rank 9 top grade. Talent. Crystal Grade Bloodline Talent, Crystal Grade Strength Talent, Crystal Grade Speed Talent, Crystal Grade Violent Wind Attribute Talent, Crystal Grade Flying Talent, Crystal Grade Cloud Talent, and Green Wood Attribute Talent, Crystal Grade Heavy Water Talent, Crystal Grade Sharp Gold Talent Bloodline Power. True Dragon Bloodline, a tiny bit, extremely weak unawakened. In an instant, the attribute panel of the Azure Heaven Bull Python appeared in his line of sight. And among these, what Lin Xuan paid the most attention to wasn't all of its innate abilities that had reached the crystal grade. It was the power of its bloodline, the bloodline of the true dragon. I never thought that the rumor would actually be true. This Azure Heaven Bull Python actually has the bloodline of the true dragon. Even though it's only an extremely thin bloodline, that's still very impressive. It should be because the bloodline of the true dragon has yet to awaken. Otherwise, the Azure Heaven Bull Python definitely isn't just a rank 9. Lin Xuan stared fixedly at the sleeping Azure Heaven Bull Python, his eyes flashing with a bright light. He mused for a moment before making a decision. His expression turned incomparably solemn. In an instant, he activated his technique and turned into an afterimage before flying towards the Azure Heaven Bull Python. This was because he could only complete the duplication within 100 meters. Lin Xuan's action shocked Na Yunming, who hurriedly shouted in a low voice. Lin Xuan, what are you doing? Come back quickly. Lin Xuan turned a deaf ear, making Na Yunming so angry that she stomped her feet. Within a few seconds, Lin Xuan was within 100 meters of the Azure Heaven Bull Python. A powerful, terrifying, and dignified aura pressed down on him. This made it extremely difficult for him to breathe. However, at this moment, he did not have the time to worry about these things. He silently ran in his heart. Duplication failed. Duplication failed. I consumed 20 million energy points. Duplication successful. Obtain True Dragon Bloodline, a thread, extremely thin, unawakened. When Lin Xuan heard the last system notification sound, a smile appeared in his eyes. I finally got it. Is the True Dragon Bloodline powerful or not? Although he had consumed 20 million energy points in one go, he had obtained the legendary top, True Dragon Bloodline. This could not be considered his loss. On the contrary, he had obtained even more. However, at this moment, the sound of a huge flow of water could be heard, and the surrounding clouds and mist started to surge. Lin Xuan looked forward, and his expression changed dramatically. Chapter 264 The Power of the Golden Scales. A pair of cold, giant blue eyes stared at him coldly. Oh no! Lin Xuan's expression changed. At this critical moment, he subconsciously activated the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts. Grandpa Kang, don't hurt Lin Xuan. He is my friend. At the same time, Na Yunming's loud shout came from behind. It was filled with worry and anxiety. At this moment, Lin Xuan had turned into a little golden man. His exposed skin was covered with level 1 golden scales, and it was dazzling under the sunlight. I didn't sense any danger to my life. Lin Xuan's expression turned serious. He was going to use the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts to defend himself, then use the spatial ability to teleport away. However, he didn't sense any fatal threat. Therefore, he stopped and looked back. The gigantic python head that was originally within 100 meters had actually retreated several hundred meters away. The Azure Heaven Bull Python's enormous snake eyes were still staring at him with a cold glint, but it did not make the slightest movement. It seemed as if it was wary of a great enemy and did not dare to make a move rashly. Did the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts power shock the Azure Heaven Bull Python, or did Na Yunming's words have an effect? Lin Xuan's eyes lit up. However, he knew that he could not stay for long. At the same time, he slowly retreated while staring at the Azure Heaven Bull Python. Once the Azure Heaven Bull Python attacked, he would at once use spatial teleportation to escape. Although it might expose his spatial talent, he could not care less in order to save his life. Fortunately, the Azure Heaven Bull Python seemed to really be intimidated and did not make any unusual movements. Lin Xuan quickly retreated several hundred meters away. Beside Nai Yunmeng. In the huge pool, the Azure Heaven Bull Python seemed to relax and crawl into the pool. However, it was still staring at Lin Xuan's figure. Lin Xuan let out a sigh of relief. It was indeed a rank 9 top-grade demon beast. If the Azure Heaven Bull Python really attacked him, he probably wouldn't have any other means of resistance besides using his spatial talent. This was too terrifying. Nai Yunmeng's expression relaxed when she saw this. Immediately, she turned around to look at Lin Xuan and said angrily, "Do you want to die? I told you not to get too close to Grandpa Kang, but you still ran so close to him. Are you afraid that you can't disturb Grandpa Kang?" Lin Xuan knew that this was his fault, so he apologized in a low voice. Nai Yunmeng still wanted to say something, but when she stared at Lin Xuan's face, her face turned red. She hurriedly waved her hand. "I have considered that this is the first time you have made a mistake, so I will let it go this time." "Yunmeng, thank you very much." Lin Xuan let out a long sigh. Nai Yunmeng nodded slightly, but the panic in her voice was even greater. She said, "Let's leave quickly to avoid angering Grandpa Kang." "Okay." Lin Xuan replied. His biggest harvest this time was already in his hands, so there was no need for him to stay any longer. After that, Lin Xuan followed Nai Yunmeng out of the huge pool. Nai Yunmeng did not ask about the seemingly extraordinary martial art that Lin Xuan used previously. They left the cloud and mist-covered area shortly after that. Nai Yongkang and the others were still waiting on the spot. When they saw Lin Xuan and Nai Yunmeng walk out, they welcomed them. "Lin, how do you feel?" "Mr. Nai, thank you very much. I have gained a lot this time." Lin Xuan replied with a smile. For some reason, Lin Xuan could vaguely feel that Nai Yongkang seemed to be more enthusiastic than before. "That's good." Nai Yongkang naturally didn't ask any more questions. After chatting for a while, they walked out of the Beast Garden. After they left Beast Garden and returned to the third prince's mansion, Lin Xuan was left alone. Nai Yongkang looked at Lin Xuan's back with a serious expression. He only turned around and left after he left. Lin Xuan did not return to his residence, but went to the Spirit Gathering Tower instead. Within the Spirit Gathering Tower, there were different levels of Spirit Gathering formation. It was most suitable for secluded cultivation. Now, he was going to enter seclusion. Not long after, Lin Xuan arrived at the Spirit Gathering Tower. As the chief combat chief, his reputation had spread throughout the third prince's mansion and even the entire Mingchang city. Naturally, no one would complain. Lin Xuan chose a room suitable for early elemental C stage warriors to cultivate in. Although early elemental C stage warriors needed too much spiritual chi in the cultivation room, which was not suitable for late spiritual essence stage warriors, he had the golden scale barbaric elephant arts and his physique was far stronger than those of the same level, so he would not be affected. In the cultivation room, Lin Xuan's expression was extremely serious as he took out a dozen medium-grade spirit stones. He stuffed them into the holes around him and urged the spirit gathering formation to sit cross-legged in the middle. In a short while, the entire cultivation room became a vast expanse of white. The abundant spirit energy seemed to have turned into fog. Lin Xuan began to cultivate. The surrounding spiritual energy rushed into his body like a tide. However, at this moment, Lin Xuan wasn't improving his cultivation base, but circulating the golden scale barbaric elephant arts. "Use it." Lin Xuan said it in his heart at the same time. In an instant, he felt an extremely majestic energy surging into his body. An unprecedented swelling spread out. However, following the circulation of the golden scale barbaric elephant arts, he quickly absorbed this majestic energy and fused it with it. His aura was also growing at an extremely fast speed. Not long after that, an incomparably terrifying aura slowly spread in all directions, with Lin Xuan as the center. As the conflict between the third prince and Nai Yongkang of the Ming-Chang Kingdom's royal family came to a close, shocking news quickly spread throughout Mingchang City while he was in seclusion. The biggest winner of this battle was Lin Xuan, who had a great reputation previously, but was only from an ordinary small domain's Scorching Sun domain. In the illusory spirit array that was being carried out in the combat center, Lin Xuan easily defeated Zhao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, and Kai Lianyan and became the #1 person in the battle. When this news spread, it at once shocked everyone in Mingchang City. Zhao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, and Kai Lianyan were the top geniuses of the central region's Mingchang region. The three of them were 6th level, spiritual essence stage warriors who had defeated 8th level spiritual essence stage warriors before. The combined strength of the three of them was enough to defeat the spiritual essence stage peak warriors. However, Lin Xuan was able to defeat them. Didn't this mean that Lin Xuan's strength was at least at the spiritual essence stage peak? According to the rumors, Lin Xuan's current cultivation base was only at the 2nd level of spiritual essence stage. This action of his had broken through to level 8. This not only showed how terrifying his strength was, it also showed how great his talent and potential were. All the warriors who knew about this news were extremely shocked by Lin Xuan's strength and talent. Lin Xuan's fame spread across Mingchang City once again and spread across the entire Mingchang region at an extremely fast speed. Chapter 265. Suppress the Mingchang territory. The next morning, after the fight, suddenly a fierce wind started blowing. It was as if a terrifying existence had descended. At the same time, a terrifying aura was emitted. In an instant, this aura enveloped the entire Mingchang region. In the entire Mingchang region, all the warriors were powerless to resist. Everyone was lying on the ground, unable to move at all. Everyone's vitality stopped moving, the spiritual energy in their dantian seemed to have frozen. Everyone's soul couldn't help but tremble. This aura was too terrifying. The Mingchang Kingdom royal family, Fengming House, and Mountain Split Sect were the three strongest powers in the Mingchang region. They all had crystal transformation stage warriors. But at this moment, none of them had the strength to resist. What the hell is going on? This level of aura should be from the legendary Martial King stage, right? Could it be that the legendary Emperor level expert has descended? What in the world happened? How could the Emperor level expert suddenly descend upon the Mingchang region? If it was the Emperor level expert, we would really be in danger. Within the Mingchang region, the few crystal transformation stage warriors were all crawling on the ground, struggling with all their might. They were extremely shocked in their hearts. This powerful aura had suppressed these crystal transformation stage warriors to the point that they couldn't fight back at all. There was no Martial King stage warrior in Fengwu State who could do this. Only the legendary Emperor level expert could do it. When the crystal transformation stage began, warriors thought that it might be the arrival of a legendary emperor. Level warriors were so scared that their bodies trembled, and their eyes were filled with fear. Their hearts were also filled with shock, and even after a long time, they still couldn't calm down. Their resistance was meaningless. They could only pray in their hearts. They hoped that he wouldn't make a move in the Mingchang region. Otherwise, the entire Mingchang region might be destroyed because of this. The true #1 expert in the Mingchang region was the Azure Heaven Bull Python, which had reached the rank 9 top grade. At this moment, it was curled into a ball in the huge pool, feeling this terrifying aura. Its eyes revealed a look of fear. But very quickly, this terrifying aura suddenly disappeared at an extremely fast speed. No one in the entire Mingchang region had noticed it. This frightening aura finally surged into the spirit gathering tower in the third prince's mansion like floodwaters. This terrifying aura came from Lin Xuan. His eyes were still closed as he cultivated the golden scale barbaric elephant arts. At this moment, although Lin Xuan was in secluded cultivation, his entire body was completely red, and he was emitting hot steam. His body trembled slightly, as if he were suffering from great pain. However, his expression was extremely calm. This formed a clear contrast. At the same time, Lin Xuan's aura was increasing rapidly, as if he were undergoing a transformation. This aura lingered around Lin Xuan's body and did not spread out in the slightest. The time passed slowly. Unknowingly, another day passed. That terrifying aura suppressed the top officials of the major powers in the Mingchang region during this time. When that aura dissipated, they sent people to investigate the entire Mingchang region. This caused a huge commotion. However, no one found out anything. When the higher-ups of the various major powers saw this result, they could only give up. An emperor-level warrior was not someone they could afford to offend. Once they provoked someone of that level, that person could easily destroy the entire Ming-Chang region. Therefore, they could only act as if nothing had happened. Lin Xuan didn't know that it was because of him that such a huge fluctuation was stirred up in the entire Ming-Chang region. At this moment, it was the morning of the third day after the battle. In the cultivation room of the Spirit Gathering Tower, Lin Xuan slowly opened his eyes. A ray of light flashed across his eyes. The surrounding void seemed to tremble. Lin Xuan looked at the void in front of him. Divine Level Duplication System. Host: Lin Xuan. Realm: Second level of Spiritual Essence Stage. Talent: King Rank Cultivation Talent, King Rank Talent, Speed, Strength, Blade Dao, Kendo, King Rank Attribute Talent, Sharp Gold, Green Wood, Heavy Water. Crimson Fire, Earth, Gale, and Ice. Lightning: Profound Grade Formation Talent, Profound Grade Alchemy Talent, Profound Grade Fantasy Talent, Profound Grade Blood Burst Talent, and Spirit Grade Dark Spirit Talent. Spirit Grade Blood Essence Talent. Spirit Grade Cloud Talent, Superior Grade Beast Spirit Talent, Low Grade Space Talent, Bloodline Strength. True Dragon Bloodline, Slight, Thin. Martial Technique. Golden Scale Dragon Technique, Unknown, Incomplete, Small Completion, Nirvana Sword Art, First Style High Rank 8, Great Completion, Secret to Making Flesh Puppets, Unknown, Incomplete. Mixed Essence Formula, Rank 9, Mid-Grade, Small Completion, Rising Sun Saber Technique, Rank 9, Low Grade, Small Completion, Cloud Sword Art, Rank 9, Low Grade, Small Completion, Tyrant Fist, Rank 9. Low Grade, Small Completion, Startling Waves Palm, Rank 9. Low Grade, Small Completion, Split Space Leg, Rank 9. Low Grade, Small Completion, Star Finger, Rank 9. Low Grade, Small Completion, Shadow Pursuing Skill, Rank 9. Low Grade, Small Completion, Flame Manipulation, High Rank 7, Small Completion. Concept: 80% Saber Intent, 75% Sword Intent, 70% Artistic Conception of Wind, 70% Artistic Conception of Gold, 70% Artistic Conception of Fire, 70% Artistic Conception of Earth, 70% Artistic Conception of Wood, and 70% Artistic Conception of Water, 40% Artistic Conception of Darkness, 40% Artistic Conception of Blood. Energy Points, 21,936,000. Walk Space, 1,620. Lin Xuan looked at the void in front of him. He looked at the attribute panel that had changed drastically, and his eyes sparkled. Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts. No, it should be called the Golden Scale Dragon Technique. I never thought that this martial art could reach such a level. It actually has the aura of a dragon's might. No wonder I was able to use this martial art to intimidate a rank 9 top-grade Azure Heaven Bull Python. Even the Azure Heaven Bull Python that owns a trace of a thin, true dragon bloodline hasn't awakened for hundreds of years. But now, I have awakened my true dragon's bloodline by relying on it. From this moment onwards, I am a top genius that owns the bloodline of the true dragon. All of my innate abilities have been greatly enhanced because of the awakening of the true dragon bloodline. Chapter 266. His strength increased dramatically. This is a king rank talent. I have a chance to reach the Martial King stage. I never thought that I would reach this level. Shiyun, wait for me. Lin Xuan looked at the attribute panel in void, and his eyes flashed as he muttered. He did not expect that this trip to the Ming-Chang region would give him such a huge harvest. The power of the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts had once again exceeded his imagination. It actually held the might of a dragon. After he duplicated the thin, true dragon bloodline in the Azure Heaven Bull Python, when he fused and absorbed it, he circulated the Golden Scale Barbaric Elephant Arts. He had actually successfully awakened the true dragon bloodline. After he absorbed that wisp of true dragon bloodline, he also developed a special physique with a bloodline. All of his innate abilities had reached the king rank. Theoretically, as long as he had sufficient cultivation resources, he would be able to reach the Martial King stage. In the entire Fengwu state, there was not a single person who had reached the Martial King stage. His king rank talent was purposely ranked at the top of Fengwu state. Now, his combat strength had increased once again. Although his cultivation base hadn't changed, it was enough for him to fight an ordinary early elemental C stage. Lin Xuan had a pretty good chance of entering the top 10 of the Profound Essence list. However, he had no hope of entering the top 3. After all, the top 3 were most likely king-rank geniuses. Their cultivation base was at the Origin C realm, and they could still defeat those who were at a higher level than them. Their combat strength was not something he could compare with right now. However, it was only now. There were still more than 10 days before the start of the Profound Essence List ranking competition. After a dozen days, his strength would no longer be the same as it was now. When the time came for him to fight the top 3, it would be hard to tell who would win and who would lose. Lin Xuan slightly nodded his head, his eyes revealing a satisfied expression. After fusing with a trace of true dragon bloodline, he understood the secret of the golden scale dragon technique. He needed the true dragon bloodline to cultivate the great completion. Before this, he was trapped when he reached the small completion because he didn't have the true dragon's bloodline. But now he owned the true dragon's bloodline, so this was no longer a problem. However, he still hadn't reached the great completion. In order to awaken the true dragon's bloodline, he didn't just cultivate the golden scale dragon technique. He had also used up 1,000,000 low-grade spirit stones in one go. 100 medium-grade spirit stones. However, his cultivation base had not improved at all. Fortunately, he had awakened the true dragon bloodline this time, and his innate talent had greatly improved. His combat strength had skyrocketed. He could be considered to have gained a lot. In addition, although his golden scale dragon technique hadn't reached the great completion, it had improved a lot. His strength had once again increased. Now, he had the strength of 21 bulls. He estimated that a casual punch from him would be enough to kill a spiritual essence stage peak warrior. Zhao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, and Kai Lianyan combined wouldn't be able to withstand a casual strike from him. A hint of a smile flashed across Lin Xuan's eyes. He estimated that he would need at least another 300 medium-grade spirit stones to reach the great completion. After that, Lin Xuan put away the attribute panel. He walked out of the cultivation room. It seems like a lot of time has passed. It should be the opening day of the Falling Star Tower. Lin Xuan murmured in his heart. After walking out of the Spirit Gathering Tower, an old man dressed in gray clothes who had been waiting for a long time on the square walked up to Lin Xuan when he saw him. "Young Master Lin, today is the opening day of the Falling Star Tower. The third prince ordered me to inform you. Please follow me." The old man in gray said it in a deep voice. Lin Xuan glanced at the old man in gray, and a surprised look appeared in his eyes. This old man in gray was no ordinary man. He had already reached the Origin C realm. Although he had only reached Origin C realm level 1, he wasn't any weaker than the number 1 expert in Scorching Sun domain, Zhang Xing. He didn't expect Nai Yongkang to attach so much importance to him. He had sent an Origin of the C realm warrior to pick him up. "Then let's go?" Lin Xuan replied indifferently, and ignored him. The Origin C realm was a high and mighty existence to him, an undefeatable existence. But now, it is no longer the case. Although he was now a second level of spiritual essence stage warrior, his strength had skyrocketed, and he was now able to fight an early elemental C stage warrior. This old man in gray was only an Origin C realm level 1 warrior, and he was no match for him. As for the treasures on his body, he didn't care about them either. "Yes," the gray-clothed old man replied, but this time there was a trace of respect on his face. He followed behind Lin Xuan and pointed out the direction for him. He was incomparably shocked. Just now, when Lin Xuan glanced at him, he actually felt an extremely strong sense of threat. It was as if he was no match for Lin Xuan. One should know that he was an Origin C realm. Although he was only an Origin C realm level 1 warrior, he was still stronger than a spiritual essence stage warrior. Only those who were in the top 10 of the Profound Essence list could defeat an Origin C realm warrior when they were in the spiritual essence stage. As for those peerless geniuses, they were at least at the late spiritual essence stage. However, Lin Xuan was still only at the second level of the spiritual essence stage. If this were true, wouldn't that mean that Lin Xuan might be even more terrifying than those top geniuses of the Fengwu state? He was shocked to the extreme. However, that was only for an instant. He wasn't sure if his thoughts were true or not. But this was enough to prove that Lin Xuan was extraordinary. Only now did he confirm that the rumors about Lin Xuan were true. Lin Xuan's achievements were far from what he could compare with. Although he had reached the Origin C realm, his cultivation base was a major realm higher than Lin Xuan's. However, when he faced Lin Xuan, he still showed a respectful expression. As for Lin Xuan, he didn't have the slightest feeling about it. Currently, his strength is probably among the top of the younger generation in Fengwu State. In the Mingqiang region of the Central Region, his strength far surpassed that of Niyang Kang and Xiao Wenxing. If he continued to stay in the Mingqiang region or even Fengwu State, it would be hard for him to advance as quickly as before. After this trip to the Falling Star Tower, it was time for him to leave the Mingqiang region and head to the Maple Marshall region. After the profound essence list ranking competition ended, he had to leave Fengwu State and go to the real Dongyuan continent to train. Lin Xuan sighed with emotion in his heart. Not long after that, he followed the old man and arrived at a vast square. At this moment, many people had already gathered in the square. Zhao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, Kai Lianyan, and the others who had obtained the quotas had all arrived. All the geniuses who had taken part in the birthday banquet had also come. Although they couldn't venture into the Falling Star Tower, they still wanted to take a look outside. Chapter 267. False Profound Meaning. When they saw Lin Xuan, their eyes at once focused on him. Although Lin Xuan's cultivation base hadn't changed, his aura was even more unfathomable. Everyone was shocked. Especially Zhao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, and Kai Lianyan. They were the strongest among the young generation. Their senses were also the sharpest. Although Lin Xuan's aura had not leaked out, the three of them could feel even stronger pressure than before. The three of them felt a chill in their hearts. In just 2 days, Lin Xuan's strength had improved a lot. The three of them were once more astounded by Lin Xuan's terrifying talent. Lin Xuan, on the other hand, ignored them. He stood by the side and felt the changes in his body. After he had merged and awakened the thin, true dragon bloodline, his body had become completely different. He had undergone a complete transformation. However, he still didn't understand it very well. Now that he had some time, he could feel and familiarize himself with it. When the surrounding people saw Lin Xuan's cold expression, none of them dared to approach him. Soon, another dozen minutes passed. Suddenly, a fierce wind howled. Following that, a huge shadow covered the area. Everyone raised their heads and looked at it in shock. It was a huge spaceship. It covered more than half of the square. It was over a kilometer long. Friends who are going to the Black Sand Wasteland, come up here. Immediately after, a strong voice came from the huge spaceship. Immediately after, a white cloth fell from the sky. The crowd did not even have time to react before they were sucked into it. Lin Xuan did not sense any hostility. Furthermore, this force had obviously surpassed the Origin Sea realm. He didn't try to resist it. In an instant, all the young warriors in the square were swept up. They quickly arrived on the deck of the huge spaceship. There were railings at the edge of the spaceship. There were many servants working around. Everyone was suddenly brought onto the ship. Before their bodies could react, they couldn't help but shake and fall to the ground. Even Zhao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, and Kai Lianyan staggered and barely managed to stabilize their bodies. Only Lin Xuan seemed to be nailed to the deck and did not move at all. He formed a sharp contrast with the others. He was even more eye-catching. Everyone, this is the Mingqiang spaceship of our Mingqiang Kingdom royal family, a rank 9 spirit weapon. Its speed is several times faster than that of a crystal transformation stage warrior, and your safety is guaranteed. Don't worry, everyone. Next, we will ride this Mingqiang spaceship and head to the Black Sand Wasteland. The strong voice sounded once again. Everyone looked over and saw a tall and skinny old man in black. The black-clothed old man's face was somewhat similar to Niyang Kang's, but his aura was even stronger, far beyond their imagination. Immediately, everyone had some guesses in their hearts. Everyone quieted down. Immediately, the Mingqiang spaceship took off. It turned into a ray of light and flew away. Its speed had reached its limit. The chi waves that the spaceship brought were able to scatter the clouds in the sky. However, the spaceship was extremely stable. There was no turbulence at all, as if it were on flat ground. Mid-rank 9 spirit weapon. The Mingqiang Kingdom royal family's foundation is pretty good. Lin Xuan's eyes swept across the Mingqiang spaceship and muttered in his heart. After that, he looked at the crowd in front of him. The old man, who had spoken earlier, was among them. Niyongkang, Niyunming, and the other royal family disciples stood by the side. Their attitudes became extremely respectful. Is this Lin Xuan? At this time, the black-clothed old man looked at Lin Xuan and said it with a smile. Hello. Lin Xuan cupped his hands and bowed. The man's attribute panel appeared in front of him. Name: Nizaying. Cultivation: 5th level crystal transformation stage. Talent: crystal grade cultivation talent, spirit grade skill, profound grade saber talent, profound grade violent wind attribute talent, spirit grade sharp gold talent, spirit grade crimson fire talent, and spirit grade green wood attribute talent, spirit grade earth talent, spirit grade heavy water talent. Martial arts: Feng Yuanji limitless technique, rank 9 top grade, great completion, wind splitting saber technique, rank 9 top grade, small completion, heavenly wind palm, rank 9 top grade, small completion. Heavy rock shattering wind fist, rank 9 top grade, small completion, divine wind cloud step, rank 9 top grade, small completion. False profound meaning: 15% blade Dao false profound meaning, 10% wind false profound meaning, 5% false gold profound meaning. Concept: 90% artistic conception of wood, 90% artistic conception of water, 90% artistic conception of fire, and 90% artistic conception of earth. Treasure: Mingchang spaceship, rank 9 mid-grade. Looking at the attribute panel in Void, Lin Xuan's expression changed. Crystal transformation stage. This was the first time he had seen a crystal transformation stage warrior. Although he had awakened the true dragon bloodline, his talent had reached the king rank. His talent far exceeded this crystal transformation stage, Nizaying's. However, his current cultivation base was too low. He had only reached the early spiritual essence stage and was far from being a match for him. He still had to support his respect. After that, Lin Xuan calmed down and a trace of joy flashed across his eyes. This was a crystal transformation stage warrior, and he was considered one of the top warriors in the entire Maple Martial region. He had a lot of treasures with him, and their grades were not low. He even had a false, profound meaning. False, profound meaning was a manifestation of laws that were even deeper than concepts. No matter how weak a false, profound meaning was, it was still far stronger than a concept. If a person wanted to break through to the crystal transformation stage, then he had to understand a trace of the falsely profound meaning. He didn't expect to see the false, profound meaning here. It was still within 100 meters of him. He couldn't let it go. Immediately, he looked at his attribute panel. I have 25 million energy points. Lin Xuan glanced at the energy points column below his attribute panel, and nodded slightly. Then he began to work. I consumed 1 million energy points. Duplication successful. You have obtained 15% Blade Dao false profound meaning. Cost 1 million energy points. Duplication successful. You have obtained Feng Yuanji's Infinity Technique, rank 9 top grade, great completion. Cost 1 million energy points. Duplication successful. You have obtained 10% Wind, false profound meaning. In an instant, he duplicated all the high-grade treasures on Nizaying. More than 10 million energy points had been used. However, compared to these treasures, the consumption of this amount of energy was nothing. A trace of satisfaction flashed across Lin Xuan's eyes. Chapter 268. Understood. By the time he leaves, fusing them together will increase his strength by quite a bit. Lin Xuan nodded slightly. All of this happened in less than a breath's time. No one on the scene noticed it, including Nizaying, who was a crystal transformation stage warrior. Fellow Lin, come here. An old man in black called Nizaying waved his hand with a smile on his face. Lin Xuan walked over with a humble expression. I never thought that the Scorching Sun domain would be able to produce a top genius like you. This is the fortune of the Scorching Sun domain. Even the Mingchang region can't compare with you. Nizaying praised Lin Xuan. With his experience as a crystal transformation stage, although he couldn't see through Lin Xuan's talent and potential, he could see that Lin Xuan's foundation was so deep that it far surpassed any genius from the Mingchang region. When he was young, he was far inferior to Lin Xuan. Niyongkang was the strongest genius of the Mingchang kingdom royal family, as well as the top genius of the other two major powers in the Mingchang region. He had also seen the top geniuses of Mountain Split Sect and Fengming House. None of them could compare to Lin Xuan. He estimated that Lin Xuan's talent and potential could be considered one of the top in the entire Fengwu state. Lin Xuan's future achievements would far surpass his. As long as Lin Xuan did not die accidentally midway through, he was basically a future martial arts expert. Therefore, even if he were a crystal transformation stage, he would still be so kind to Lin Xuan. Lin, this is one of the old ancestors of the Ming Chang royal family, my third grandfather. Nai Yongkang was introduced. Hello, Senior Nai. Thank you for your praise. Lin Xuan bowed and expressed his gratitude. Nai Ziying waved his hand and asked Lin Xuan to stand up straight. He praised Lin Xuan even more. His tone was neither arrogant nor impatient, it was calm and steady. His state of mind was rarely seen among his peers. After chatting for a while, Nai Ziying changed the topic and said, Fellow Lin, you should be able to make it to the higher levels of the Falling Star Tower this time. Here, let me congratulate you first. Senior Nai, what do you mean by that? Lin Xuan asked when he heard this. Fellow Lin, you just came out of the Scorching Sun domain. Perhaps you don't know much about the Falling Star Tower in Ming Chang region. Let me explain it to you in detail. Nai Ziying stroked his beard and chuckled. Then I'll have to trouble you. Lin Xuan replied. Many of the younger generation of martial artists were shocked when they heard this. Their eyes gathered on ____. The Falling Star Tower could be said to be the most mysterious treasure in the Ming Chang region. Although there were rumors about the Falling Star Tower in the Ming Chang region and even the surrounding small domains, only the three major powers in the Ming Chang region that controlled the Falling Star Tower knew about its true situation. Now, the old ancestor of the Ming Chang kingdom, royal family, was going to explain it to them, which would naturally give them more real information. Of course, they couldn't miss this opportunity. At the same time, they were also secretly sighing in their hearts. Crystal transformation stage warriors were the top warriors in the entire central region's Ming Chang region. In the entire Ming Chang region, their numbers were extremely small. Normally, they were high and mighty, and even the elemental C stage martial cultivator had to grovel before them. However, when faced with Lin Xuan, a young early spiritual essence stage warrior, their attitude was actually so kind. This also showed how terrifying Lin Xuan's talent and potential were. Crystal transformation stage warriors had to pay attention to him. Once more, everyone was astounded by Lin Xuan's talent and potential. Nai Ziying, however, ignored the changes in their expressions. His eyes swept across Lin Xuan, and he nodded slightly before continuing. Falling Star Tower. It appeared more than 100 years ago after a meteor fell in the Black Sand Wasteland in the western region of Ming Chang region. As long as the cultivation base of the young generation is higher than the spiritual essence stage and below 20 years old, they can enter the ____ and explore. Every time they break through to level 1, they will receive a corresponding reward. The higher the level of their adventure, the more generous the reward would be. I suppose you already know all of this. Yes. Lin Xuan nodded his head. He had heard all of this from Zhang Yukin before. Even an early spiritual essence stage warrior from an ordinary small domain like the Scorching Sun domain knew about Zhang Yukin. This meant that this news had spread far and wide. It was highly likely that the three dominant powers of the Ming Chang region handled this news's release. After that, Nai Ziying continued. But you probably don't know about the situation after entering the Falling Star Tower. In fact, after entering the Falling Star Tower, we will be transported to an arena. After that, a puppet of the same level will appear, but it will be stronger than ordinary warriors of the same level. After we win, we will receive rewards. When we obtain the rewards, we will be sent to lower level 1. When we are in lower level 1, we will also have puppets, but these puppets will be stronger and have more of them. As long as we can win, we will be able to continue advancing. The rewards that we will receive will also be more and more generous. There was once someone who had made it to the 5th level of the Ming Chang region and obtained a rank 9 mid-grade martial art. After saying that, he gave Lin Xuan a deep look and continued. If we lose, we will be teleported out. Therefore, when one was exploring the Falling Star Tower, it wasn't the same person who had a higher cultivation base. The higher the cultivation base, the better. It is that his combat strength must be strong enough. And with your combat strength and ability to jump ranks, No one in the entire Ming-Chang region could compare to you. I believe that this trip to the Falling Star Tower will be the time for you to show off your skills. It shouldn't be too difficult for you to reach the 5th floor. I'll congratulate you first. Nizang smiled and said it in detail. In fact, after the discussion between the three major powers this year, they decided to invite the younger generation of the three major powers to take part in the expedition to the Falling Star Tower. This was because they already knew that the true information about the Falling Star Tower could no longer be preserved. Therefore, they had said it out loud, and at the same time, they could also gain Lin Xuan's favorable impression. Why wouldn't they do it? In the Falling Star Tower, as long as one broke through to the 5th level, they would be able to obtain a rank 9 martial art. It was hard to imagine what kind of generous rewards would be given to the next few levels. However, Nizang had never mentioned anything like asking Lin Xuan to hand over a few % of the harvest in the Falling Star Tower. This was also to build a good relationship with Lin Xuan. In his point of view, Lin Xuan's talent and potential were extremely high. His future achievements would definitely not be limited to the crystal transformation stage. There was no need for him to offend a genius with boundless potential like Lin Xuan just for a treasure. After all, some treasures, such as some powerful martial arts, could be used as trump cards. Therefore, no one was willing to share them with others. Taking a step back, what if he could obtain a treasure of a higher grade in Falling Star Tower? Their potential and talent were limited. Regardless of whether it was pills, herbs, or high-grade martial arts, they might not be able to increase their strength by much. On the contrary, if they were on good terms with Lin Xuan, they could win him over. When Lin Xuan grew up, not to mention other things, they would wait for him to reach the peak of Fengwu state. Even if Lin Xuan didn't show up, they would still be able to obtain a lot of benefits by borrowing Lin Xuan's reputation. He naturally knew which was more important and what choice he should make. Lin Xuan nodded his head when he heard this and said, "Thank you for telling me. I understand." Lin Xuan did not respond to which level he could reach. It was not good to say it out loud. Chapter 269. Arrived. However, after hearing Nizang's description, Lin Xuan was confident that he would be able to reach the 5th floor. With his current ability, although he had only reached the 2nd level of spiritual essence stage, his combat strength was enough to fight an early elemental C stage warrior. Even an ordinary origin C realm level 1 warrior was no match for him. In the entire Ming-Chang region, not a single person could reach that level. And since someone could reach the 5th level in the Ming-Chang region, he should be able to do it as well. After all, he had never truly ventured into the Falling Star Tower. He wasn't sure about the actual situation. When the surrounding young warriors heard this, they all had a look of realization in their eyes. They were all shocked. Not long after, they still focused on Lin Xuan. Although the difficulty of exploring the Falling Star Tower was a little lower than what they had imagined, it was still very difficult for them to venture into the Falling Star Tower. Lin Xuan, on the other hand, was different. In the illusory spirit array, Lin Xuan was fighting 3 enemies at the same time. With his early spiritual essence stage cultivation base, he was able to defeat Xiao Wenxing, Zhou Yue, and Kai Lianyan's joint attack. His combat strength had already reached the spiritual essence stage peak. This proved that he could challenge someone with a higher cultivation base than him. A top genius like Lin Xuan was the perfect candidate for entering the Falling Star Tower. Of course, they also knew that this had a lot to do with a person's innate talent. The reason Lin Xuan could do this was because his talent was extraordinary. They could only secretly envy him. At the same time, they were also looking forward to it from the bottom of their hearts. The 3 major powers of the Ming-Chang region had controlled the Falling Star Tower for over 100 years. The Falling Star Tower was born once every 10 years. The floor with the highest number of people who entered was the 5th floor. And this time, Lin Xuan's talent had already exceeded the level of the Ming-Chang region. They wanted to know if Lin Xuan could make it to a higher level. What level could he reach in the end? Everyone's eyes moved slightly. After Lin Xuan received the information, he looked at Nizang and said, "I also want to ask about the situation in the Falling Star Tower. I wonder if you can tell me." "I will tell you everything I know." Nizang chuckled and replied. In any case, there was not much information about the Falling Star Tower. This information was from 100 years ago. The information was summarized based on the words of the younger generation of disciples. There was no real secret or extremely important information. There was no harm in telling Lin Xuan. After that, Lin Xuan asked a few more questions. Nai Ziying answered all of them one by one. Soon, 15 minutes passed. The Mingchang spaceship also arrived at a black wasteland. Upon closer inspection, everyone discovered that the wasteland was densely packed with black, fine sand. The fine sand extended to the end of one's line of sight. This was one of the strange places in Mingchang region, Black Sand Wasteland. However, other than the endless black sand that spread across the Black Sand Wasteland, not a single blade of grass grew in the Black Sand Wasteland, not to mention those spirit herbs and spirit fruits. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was extremely thin, and there were no precious minerals. It could be said that this place was worthless. Normally, very few martial practitioners would come here. However, no one would have thought that 100 years ago a meteor would fall in Black Sand Wasteland and leave behind an incomparably mysterious falling star tower. At this time, many people had already gathered in the Black Sand Wasteland. They had gathered in groups, and it was obvious that they came from different powers. There were 2 more groups of people present. Their auras were also the strongest. They were the other 2 major powers of the Mingchang region. The Mountain Split Sect and the Fengming House. I never thought that the Mountain Split Sect and the Fengming House would come here first this year. Nai Ziying sneered upon seeing this. The 3 major powers were the overlords of the Mingchang region, so their relationship was naturally not good. After that, Nai Ziying said, "All of you, follow me down." After he finished speaking, a white handkerchief flew out of his hand. It quickly grew in size, wrapping everyone within it. Everyone had experience before, so they didn't resist. Immediately after, they felt a sense of dizziness. When they opened their eyes again, they had already landed on the Black Sand Wasteland. Nai Ziying extended his hand and grabbed. The 1,000-meter-long Mingchang spaceship shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into a black dot and entered his hand. The Mingchang spaceship can actually shrink. It really is a good treasure. Lin Xuan's eyes lit up when he saw this. He at once thought of something. Using 1 million energy points, duplication was successful. You have obtained the Mingchang spaceship, mid-rank 9 spirit weapon. Such a treasure was very suitable for him. Even if he didn't use it, he could earn quite a lot of spirit stones by selling it. Of course, he wanted this treasure. After successfully duplicating it, Lin Xuan sensed that a small, black boat had appeared in the walkspace. It was exactly the same as the Mingchang spaceship he had seen before, except that it had shrunk to the size of a palm. Lin Xuan nodded slightly, and a trace of a smile appeared in his eyes. After Nai Ziying brought everyone off the ship, he led them to occupy an area. The servants hurriedly arranged the area, placed the carpet, and placed the tables and chairs. Nai Ziying was one of the old ancestors of the Mingchang Kingdom royal family, and he was a crystal transformation stage warrior. He was naturally recognized. The other major organizations all knew about the arrival of the Mingchang royal family. Countless eyes were fixed on the Mingchang royal family. In the Fengming house, there was an old man and an old woman who were walking towards them. Nai Ziying saw them and went forward to greet them. "Old Chen, Mrs. Sun, I didn't expect you two to still be alive." Nai Ziying laughed and said, "You are not dead yet. How can we die first?" The gray-robed elder from the Mountain Split Sect said it coldly. His voice was like a mouse, grinding its teeth. The Mingchang Kingdom royal family, Mountain Split Sect, and Fengming House had dominated the Mingchang region. There were all kinds of small conflicts between them, both in the open and in the dark. After a debate between the 3 crystal transformation stage warriors, the gray-clothed old man suddenly changed the topic and said with a sneer, "Shangsong, are these the disciples of the Mingchang royal family who are going to explore the Falling Star Tower this time? They don't look strong. Is that so? The disciples of Mountain Split Sect might not be any better, right?" Nai Ziying said it coldly. "That's hard to say. Look over there." After saying that, the old man turned around and swept his gaze across the crowd of Mountain Split Sect. At this moment, the person in the center of the Mountain Split Sect was no longer the core disciple of the Mountain Split Sect, Shuiyang, who was ranked 62nd on the Xuanyuan list. There were 3 people in the middle of the crowd. There was a young man in white clothes with an extraordinary temperament and an extremely cold expression, a tall and thin young man in black clothes, and a young girl with a cold face, a red robe, and a sword on her back. The auras of these three people far exceeded those of Nai Yongkang and Shui Yang. Nai Yongkang and Shui Yang were both top geniuses in the Mingchang region. Nai Ziyang's eyes swept across these three people and his expression froze. A trace of disbelief flashed across his eyes. Chapter 270. Appears. That's the 38th ranked Luo Kitchen, the 41st ranked Zhang Xin, and the 44th ranked Su Hanyan of the Profound Essence list. Old Chen, you actually invited them here. Seeing this, Nai Ziyang looked at the old man in gray in disbelief. Old Chen, has the mountain split sect gone mad? The power behind them is far from what the three of us can compare with. Mrs. Sun's face turned red, and she shouted angrily in a low voice. Since Falling Star Tower had appeared in Mingchang region, it was the treasure that belonged to the three major powers. But the Mountain Split sect had actually invited the top 50 geniuses on the Profound Essence list. These three geniuses were from the top powers, which were second only to the 8 Overlord level forces in Fengwu State. These powers had void martial stage warriors. They were far from what the three major powers in Mingchang region could compare with. Once these three people entered the Falling Star Tower and found out about the huge benefits of the tower, they would inform the powers behind them. At that time, the major powers behind the three geniuses would make a move, and it would be completely different. It was impossible for the Falling Star Tower to belong to the three major powers. The Falling Star Tower only appeared after the meteorite fell from the sky. There must be some valuable treasures inside. No one knew what kind of treasure was inside the Falling Star Tower. Originally, under the joint efforts of the three major powers, although the news of the Falling Star Tower had spread out, they had reduced its influence on the lowest. Under normal circumstances, the Falling Star Tower wouldn't enter the eyes of the true major powers of the Fengwu State. However, the Mountain Split sect had given information about the Falling Star Tower to those major powers. This had infuriated Nai Ziyang to the extreme. Anyway, I have already done it. You can do whatever you want. The old man waved his hand and said it casually. The sarcasm in his words could not be any more obvious. Very good. I will remember your actions. Mrs. Sun gritted her teeth and said it coldly. Old Chen, I will not let you go. Nai Ziyang said it straightforwardly. Then I will wait. However, other than the Azure, Heaven Bull Python, the Mingchang royal family is no big deal. The gray-clothed old man sneered, his face full of ridicule. Nai Ziyang and Mrs. Sun's expressions became even uglier. They snorted coldly, turned around, and returned to their respective regions. The old man in gray looked at Nai Ziyang and Mrs. Sun's backs and sneered. He had already prepared himself for the war with the two major powers. The Mountain Split sect had joined the Qing Essence sect behind Luo Kitchen. The Qing Essence sect was a powerful force that was only second to the 8 Overlord level forces in Fengwu State. The Qing Essence sect had a void martial stage warrior. The Qing Essence sect was far from being comparable to the Mingchang royal family or the Fengming house. The Mountain Split sect was naturally not afraid of the Mingchang royal family and the Fengming house. Unfortunately, he didn't know that this would lead to the destruction of the Mountain Split sect. The culprit behind all of this was a genius of the younger generation. After Nai Ziyang returned to the Mingchang royal family, he said, "Be careful of the Mountain Split sect." After that, he didn't say anything else. Everyone turned to look in the direction of the Mountain Split sect. Lin Xuan also looked over. Luo Kitchen, Zhang Xin, and Su Hanyan. Luo Kitchen was one of the top 50 geniuses on the Profound Essence list, and he was even in the top 40. This is going to be interesting. Lin Xuan looked at the three of them. He already knew the names of the earlier batch's Profound Essence list. He at once recognized the three of them. However, Lin Xuan's expression was calm. His current strength was enough to fight his way into the top 10. None of these three people could make it into the top 30. It was impossible for them to threaten him. Even if all three of them were late spiritual essence stage warriors, it was useless. Only Luo Kitchen's cultivation talent is at the void grade. It seems like in Fengwu State, this king rank talent is even lesser than I thought. Lin Xuan sighed with emotion in his heart. After that, he no longer paid any attention to them. Na Yongkang, Zhao Wensing, Zhou Yue, Kai Lianyan, and the other geniuses noticed Luo Qichan, Zhang Xin, Su Hanyan, and the other top 50 geniuses. All of their expressions changed and they were shocked. Clearly, none of them had expected that the Mountain Split sect would actually be able to invite them here. Nai Ziang, who was standing beside them, had a cold expression on his face. His gaze casually swept across and landed on Lin Xuan. When he saw Lin Xuan's indifferent expression, his heart couldn't help but tremble. Lin Xuan, Na Yongkang, and the others were going to take part in the profound essence list ranking competition. In theory, it was impossible that they didn't know Luo Qichan, Zhang Xin, and Su Hanyan. However, Lin Xuan was still able to support his indifferent expression. Could it be that Lin Xuan was confident that he could defeat Luo Qichan, Zhang Xin, and Su Hanyan? Lin Xuan, on the other hand, had only reached the second level of spiritual essence stage. If that was really the case, then his talent was just too terrifying. In the entire Fengwu state, there weren't many people who could compare with him, right? Nai Ziang was once more astounded by Lin Xuan's talent. Immediately, a trace of a cold smile flashed across his eyes. Didn't the Mountain Split sect invite the top 50 geniuses? They would undoubtedly lose face if the unknown Lin Xuan were to surpass them. Since their relationship was already bad, he was happy to see the Mountain Split sect lose face. Furthermore, after this incident, they would most likely lose the Falling Star Tower. In that case, it wouldn't be a bad idea to let Lin Xuan take the treasures. At least, the Ming Chang royal family was on good terms with Lin Xuan. If Lin Xuan could make use of this opportunity to rise even faster, the Ming Chang royal family would also be able to obtain tremendous benefits. The time slowly passed. Another 10 minutes passed. Suddenly, a strange fluctuation spread out. Spatial fluctuation. Lin Xuan's eyes lit up. No wonder the three major powers of the Ming Chang region couldn't detect it, no matter what method they used after the disappearance of the Falling Star Tower. It turned out that the Falling Star Tower was in another spatial zone. If a person didn't have a spatial talent, he would have to have an extremely strong cultivation base until he could forcefully break open the spatial zone to find it. Lin Xuan estimated that it was impossible for a Martial King stage to do that. In the next moment, a translucent white film of light appeared a few hundred meters away from the group. Within the white light barrier, a square with a radius of 1,000 meters appeared. In the center of the square, there was a black tower with a height of 300 meters.